Hello, everyone. It's your host of Inside the Mind, the Bird 864, bringing you episode 2 and 3, the long overdue episode 2 and 3, defense approaches and using. So that's what we'll be discussing. I'm a little ill right now, so I apologize if my voice sounds a little strange. So it says we're doing play. I want to show you guys the depth chart, so let's see what they're talking about here. Alright, let's pick a random play for now. I want to discuss personnel, so let's run this. Alright, guys, welcome to the second and third combi sort of episode of Inside the Mind with your host, the Bird. Um, we're going to discuss defensive approaches. So we'll discuss 4-3. I'll be doing that with the Carolina Panthers, and then we'll discuss 3-4. I will be doing that with most likely the Houston Texans. Sorry if my voice sounds a little strange. I am battling with allergies. All right, so let's go to the defense. And like I always like to start with, let's talk personnel. All right, very first thing you want to do before you know what type of personnel you want to have is what defense are you going to run. Know your playbook. That's the first tip I can start with this episode is know your playbook. The reason being is when you know your playbook, it can help you put not so much your playbook, not just your playbook, your scheme as well. Okay, so know your playbook and then know what type of scheme you want to run out of your playbook. And once you know those, you can know what type of personnel you want to put to help that scheme happen. Okay, you might have to change the scheme if you don't have the right kind of personnel to run the scheme. So personnel are equally important in having a good, successful, consistent scheme on defense. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at the ends. We're running a 4-3 Carolina. All right, Carolina has a essentially like a attacking 4-3. All right, so their linebackers are good at pass rushing. They're also good at dropping back in coverage too. That's part of the reason why us. When I say us, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. For you, those of you who don't know, uh, born and raised in Carolina, so been a fan since we got the team in '95. All right, so Charles Johnson, Keone Ely, Mario Addison. We're heavy on left ends, right? So then the next thing you do is you say, what do I want out of these guys? All right. On the 4-3, like I said before in the previous episode, you want your linemen. Their job is to eat up the offensive linemen. All right. What I mean by eat up, they're supposed to get contact with those guys. Okay. That's their number one goal. Is to get in, engage those blockers, engage them. Whoever they have on the line opposite them, they need to engage them. The goal is to get on the opposite side, but ideally they need to at least engage them. If they get a sack, if they get a tackle for loss, great. But you want to disrupt the backfield. You want to disrupt the play. That's what their job is for. All right. So once you know what you want out of the lineman, you can start scheming around them. So let's say you see Charles Johnson, pretty solid guy, right? Good strength, agility. All right. So let's go over here to some of the defensive specific attributes more so when we're talking about a defensive lineman. Okay. Finesse move, block shedding, pursuit. All right. When you look at his power move and finesse move, big gap there, right? All right. The reason being is he's not very good at getting after the passer. That's what the fast finesse moves are for. All right. Those get you your type of defensive lineman moves that are going to get you towards the quarterback fast. All right. Power moves are going to get you towards the running back when it comes to Madden. Okay. Power moves are going to get you to the running back. And so is block shedding. All right. So he's a good run stuffing defensive end, left end defensive end. All right. So we're going to leave him there. Keone Ely has good speed as well. Not bad. but Mario Addison's even faster. But he's a little undersized. That's part of the reason why he's faster than the rest of those guys, right? So that can come into play where you can put him in a situation where, and you'll see later on, where you have him as an end and he drops back in coverage. Why? He's a little faster than the rest of the guys, a little more agile. Because look at his speed, 4 points higher than Charles Johnson. Agility is about the same, but speed is up there. Acceleration is up there the same as well, but that speed is much higher. All right. Same concept. What do you want out of your end? We're gonna leave Jerry Allen there. And the Carolina Panthers are good at this part. Your defense and tackles, especially if you're running a 4-3, you want somebody on your line to force a double team. That is what you want out of your defensive lineman. Someone needs to force a double team. And it's easier to do with a 4-3. It's easier to force a double team with a 4-3. Um, Especially when you have a big body run stuff in whole clogger like Star Latulele. Okay. That guy is an essential vintage defensive tackle where he's a big body that claws at the lane. He's not going to get you a whole bunch of sacks or not a whole bunch of tackles a lot, but his key is disrupting the offensive line. All right, so the linebackers can either get to the quarterback or the running back without having to shed a block, or with only having to shed minimal blocks. Okay, that's the job of these big bodies right here. Okay. All right, and he's just a freak because he's good at actually getting to the quarterback at the defensive tackle. If you have a defensive tackle that's great at getting at the quarterback, man, consider yourself a lucky guy. All right, we got Shaq Thompson. He's the kind of speed you want out of someone who's on the end. That's the kind of speed you want out of someone. 84 speed out of a left outside linebacker. Okay, great speed. That's what you want in 4-3. You want someone who has good zone if you're running the 4-3 as well. I'm sorry. Acceleration is great. Agility is great. Let's see where his zone is at. Let's see what it's catching to. Good catching. Jump is decent. Hit power is good. Power moves are decent. Finesse moves are decent. Block shedding is decent. Pursuit's pretty decent. Play recognition. Man coverage. Look at that. Zone and man. That's better than some cornerbacks. And that's going to come into play here later on in a scheme that you can run out of 4-3, especially with Carolina. For those of you who have um, a team that's similar to Carolina when it comes to the linebacker position, these two attributes will come into play. All right, we're going to go to middle linebacker. Okay. The man, the myth himself, Luke Kuechly. There's nothing that this guy can't do. All right. High awareness, which is something you want out of a middle linebacker. I don't know if you all noticed, but when you have a middle linebacker or a safety with really high awareness, they will switch the play around in their zones automatically. If someone's running the same play over again, they will auto switch the zone in order to take that out of the play. If you haven't noticed that, pay attention to it. Excuse me. Catching, awesome. Better than some wide receivers. Better than Ted Ginn, I think. Jumpings up there. Hit power, tackle, awesome. These are good things out of a middle linebacker. Why? Because that guy is going to be chasing the ball either side chasing the ball. He's in the best position to make a play. That's why most of your high tackle guys are your middle linebackers. All right. Great power moves. Finesse moves down there, but it's typical for a middle linebacker. Block shedding's high. Pursuit's high. Play recognition. Great for a middle linebacker. That is what you want. High play recognition. All right, that's why I meant to please say I said awareness, but this is the stat that helps you decipher those guys who run the same three plays over and over again. If you're not figuring out yourself, guys with high play rec can help you out there. And look at that zone coverage, outstanding. Another great linebacker on the Carolina Panthers with good zone coverage, and you'll see once again why this will come into play. All right, Thomas Davis, one of the toughest players in the NFL. Great speed again, even though he's aging. Strength, agility, acceleration, awareness is high. Tackle is great. Hit power is great. All right. When you see things like that, he's a real his awareness is a little lower because he's more of a traditional uh see ball get ball. You know what I mean? Luke Kuechly's more that I know where the ball's going before the ball gets snapped type of player. Block shedding, finesse move. So he's not a great pass rusher. That's one thing you need to know if you're playing with an outside linebacker and you're trying to blitz. Don't blitz the guy who has horrible finesse moves and block shedding because he's probably not going to get to the quarterback if he has to engage someone. Okay? So that's something you need to pay attention to your right outside linebackers. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? He's good at going after the ball in the open field, but don't send this guy too often towards the quarterback, especially if he has to fade the lineman. He might get lucky against a tight end with low run block or low blocking in general, but he probably won't fail too well against a offensive tackle. Play recognition is pretty good. Man coverage in zone. Look at that. Another Carolina linebacker with 80 or greater zone. All right. 70 something better man. These are linebackers, gentlemen. Okay. Out of your corners, Josh Norman. All right. Charles Tillman, Ben Rickery. We're going to look at the first three. All right. Your 1 and 2 corner and then your nickel, right? Pay attention to speed. All right. Me, what I would do here is I'll switch this guy out. Reason being is you can put a more, depending on the scheme you're in, you can put a slower corner on the inside with a high press because Charles Tillman has a high press. I would put him on the inside against the slot guy because even though he probably might get burned, he's going to press that guy up and he's going to slow him down. And the second thing is that if he does get burned, there'll be other help around, most likely linebackers and safeties against the slot guy. People don't send a slot guy too often on streaks. So, excuse me, that's something to be mindful of. And a scheme I like to run a lot of times with the Panthers is putting a good press man at the nickel, all right, to jam that guy up, all right, and then you want your top guys playing. All right, one thing about it, not all corners have the same attributes. Even though Josh Norman has a high overall, he's more of a zone coverage type of corner, all right. Awareness, acceleration. He's a good anticipatory type of player, all right. I know I'm talking about specific players, but it's just something to give you things to think about when you're designing the scheme you want to run based off the personnel you have at your disposal. All right. So play rate 94, right? Get in position. You don't have to be the fastest if you have somebody have great high play recognition that can make up for speed. All right. Man coverage is high. Overrated, actually, to be honest. And I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. His man shouldn't be that high because we play a lot of zone, and he usually stays on one side. But oh well, I'll take it. Zone coverage is where it should be. All right, he's a heavy zone kind of guy. All right, he's not known for following people around the thing, but we're not talking about real life. We're talking about Madden here. Okay, zone coverage is something else you need to pay attention to. He has the highest zone out of everybody. What does your team do the best? All right. Ben Rickery is a nice, solid guy. All right, he does both well. Charles Tillman does the zone more than others. So, if you notice anything about the Panthers, all their corners are better at zone than anything else. So that's probably what you should give up. You should play a lot more than anything else. All right, got Kurt Coleman. He has a great zone. Okay, that's what you're gonna usually find out of safety. Because safeties, especially free safeties, you want two things out of those guys. This is their job. They're either gonna help to stop the run, all right, because they're like a hybrid player. They're bigger than your average corner, but smaller than your average linebacker, typically. So they can help stop the run, and they can also help play the pass. So safeties are good for that. All right. They're also called a safety for a reason. They're your last line of defense. Okay. That's something you guys need to remember. Don't go sneaking the dang safety down to the freaking inside the box all the time and think you won't get beat over the top. Because it can and will happen. All right. Use that precaution. Same thing on the strong side. They're usually gonna either play pass coverage zone wise. They're not gonna be usually great in man unless they were used to be a corner. You know, you have those exceptions where you have your Devin McCourties or your Charles Woodsons who can have high man and zone, but typically your safeties gonna be a zone kind of guy. And let's see. All right. prime examples here. All right, Roman Harper's a little bit different, but that's just particularly what you're gonna get. Okay. All right. So we went over the defense, personnel. Now we're gonna go to play calling. All right. All right. We got the stack. It's a nice, even, balanced type of defense play. Let's run with it. And like I said before, we play heavy zone in the 4-3. And we'll let them run a random play and see how well we run against here. Alright. One thing I like, the computer quick heights the crap out of you so you don't get a chance to talk more. See what you're going to do. Stay base. It's even. Bring him in. Help you out center. There we go. Nice and even setup here. See the pursuit out of those guys. He's heavy on the right side. So seeing how he was heavy on that right side, one or two things are going to happen with that last play. They're going to either run like they did up the middle or to the outside, or like a lot of users like to do, is if they're heavy on the right side stacked, typically people are going to run some sort of play action where they're overloading one side, but then all the routes are running to the weak side of the field. All right. A lot of times people do that to try to get you commit to one side of the field, because I do that myself. So a good thing to do is to try to play with somebody on the weak side of the play. All right, to try to take that away from the guy, especially if they're doing a PA rollout of some sort. All right, it can help take those guys that are coming back across the field out of the play, or at least delay the choice that the user is going to make to get a chance to get your pass rush there. All right, so that's something to keep in mind with that last play. Ready, 25. Same thing here. All right, we gotta. All right. So that last play, right? We had Thomas Davis lined up against the safety. Against Devin Hester, I believe. All right, Thomas Davis out there, lined up, had another. All right, they're in a 4 wide set. Yet I was able to not get burned too badly because I have not safeties, but linebackers with great zone. All right, so I bring them down. You see, the first thing I did as soon as I saw Hester come down and come across the field is I split between Roddy White and him. That gives you a choice. It gives you opportunity to make a decision about how you want to play it, okay? A lot of times, typically, you can trust your players to come down and play the zone so you can break off him. A lot of times, if I were using it right here, I would drop back, because if this was a user, if this is a human opponent, a lot of times they would try to go to Roddy White in the seam because he looks open, right? That's the way to bait someone. Like I did there. I came back. Alright. Excuse me, guys. There's a lot of debate about whether or not 4-3 or 3-4 is better at stopping the run. To be honest, it's all about the personnel you're running. The idea is, once you realize everybody has a gap that they're assigned to, okay? The middle linebacker has the A gap essentially. The A gap is either, depending on how the play is on either the left or right side of the center, okay? That's where the A gap. The B gap is between the guard and the tackle, all right? That's the B gap. And then the C gap is between whoever the widest person is, okay? So it's outside of the tackle, in between whatever the wide receiver is. So it could be a tight end or a wide out. That's where your C gap is at, okay? And everybody has their gap responsibility. always remember is that don't take someone, if you know a weak side of a play, let's say someone's going to run a pitch. So let's choose new play, right? We're going to do a stack, right? And we have the computer do a toss out of. Take the weak side guy. If you know it's going over, take the weak side guy and bring him over with it. Take the weak side guy. Let computer eat up all those blacks, but take the weak side guy. Strafe him, strafe him, strafe him. There you go. The reason why you're taking the weak side guy is that you're trying to take away those cutback lanes. So you slowly bring yourself down. If you already have a good idea where the play is going, keep doing the same thing. Cheat them over. It's fine. Cheat someone over. Weak side, weak side, weak side. Guy. Just keep bringing that weak side guy over, okay? I'm going to do this one more time. And I would advise against over run committing using the right stick. Let's test that out and see. We're gonna do run right, and we're not gonna use it. It works great, but the biggest thing about it is if somebody decides to run middle, let's say you think they're coming down the middle, but you hit middle and they're gonna go right. Look what happens when you overcommit a defense. He runs out. So use that with caution. Run committing. What I'll say is that I rarely run commit unless I'm 100% sure where they're going. If there's any doubt, I'm not run committing because it's just going to take players out of the play, especially if they do any sort of outside run. You're going to take people out of the play. Let's look at some passing out of the 4-3. If you have good coverage linebackers, here's another scheme you can try out. We're going to show you out of the stack. And run these two out of there for 3 stack. And then we're going to run a basic 3 wide. What they got out of here? Play where they have 3 wide receivers in. All right. Actually, we're gonna put them random, so I don't know, and see how well we fare against the pass. It's gonna run it to the right of it. The ideal is run to a blocker. If you know you can't get the guy and the offensive lineman has the angle on you, just run into him. There you go. We're gonna see how well we can fare against this 3 linebacker set. Computer hikes the ball so fast. Three linebackers there. Not doing too bad. I don't think they've got more than 5 yards against this 3 linebacker set so far. We'll run a few more plays. It's just showing you what happens when you know your personnel. You can get away with running a 4-2. A traditional 4-3 against multiple receiver sets. All right, this is your standard 2 tight. This is your double tight end set. See, he had to make a stupid decision. That's what we want, guys. Let's put him. Three linebackers set. Let's see what happens when we send Thomas Davis. What happens? Let's send shot taps on this side. See what happens. See, so far we're playing darn well in this 4-3. Base 4-3. Hit me with a full back dive cheese. Yeah, man. So, alright. Now, we're going to go over some 4-3. Excuse me, some 3-4 now. So, that is the end of this video. Stay tuned for the 3-4 video shortly. Alright, you got your 3-4 tutorial starting now. Alright guys, now it's time for the 3-4 tutorial. We gotta auto reorder the depth chart real quick. Alright, gonna go to the defense. Alright, we got Jared Crick, 285, 6'4". So he's a good big body. We got there. Alright. Let's look at this. The attributes, critical attributes I care the most about. So power move, finesse move, hit power, tackle. Okay. So with this guy, let's say you're running, this is a 3-4 set. For me personally, if I'm running a 3-4 set, I want ideally at least two line, the two ends I have to be big bodies. Essentially, I want big bodies on my entire defensive line. Why? Because you're at a disadvantage at the point of attack. And what I mean by that is that on the line of scrimmage, they will have at a minimum 5 people on the line. Okay, on the line of scrimmage, uh, line up directly across from you. All right, they will have those. All right, line up against you at a minimum, right across from your defense lineman. So the ideal thing is that you want defensive linemen that can force double teams. The more defensive linemen you have that can force double teams, the better. Why? Because you only have 3 of them at the point of attack. All right. You have linebackers lurking very close by, sometimes hovering at the line of scrimmage, but not always. But those 3 guys will always remain the same. Right. So you want them to be two gap type of guys. When I mean by two guys, you want people who do force double teams. All right. Especially out of your defensive tackle. All right. So your defensive tackle, we already got J.J. Watt, who's a freak, he can do everything. But you want guys that can force double teams. And you want guys who can force double teams and then get off the double team. And that's most crucial to that will be this one here, power moves. All right, that is critical to getting off the block and facing double teams and breaking those double teams up. Okay, and of course block shedding. All right, finesse moves are mostly getting after the passer, but block shedding and power moves are all about your run. All right, and power moves are about your double teams. Defensive tackle, right? You want a big sloppy body in there like Vince Wilfork. All right, he is going to be a gap plugger. All right, he's a traditional 3-4 type of guy. He's somebody you want. Even Christian Chuck Covington is in many ways, but Vince Wilfork definitely is. All right, he's slow, so he's not gonna get too many sacks. He's not gonna really get after the person. He's gonna get in the backfield, but they're gonna run around him. But that's fine. He's there to get in the backfield and disrupt the play. So, and that's what he's great at doing. He is going to force a double team essentially every friggin' time. All right, and that's perfect because now you give opportunity for your other guys to theoretically have one-on-ones. And I'm gonna tell you right now, J.J. Watt is in a favorable position. Defensive ends like J.J. Watt are in a favorable situation when they're on a one-on-one against a tackle. There are a few tackles that can contain that man. I can tell you that right now on a consistent basis. So that's something you need to keep in mind. All right. So power moves, right? Not all that high. All right. Finesse moves, not all that high. So he's not really great at rushing any of the path or really stopping the run, other than being a gap plugger. All right. That is what he does best. He gets his big body in there and blocking. That's what you want out of your defensive tackle. All right. Linebackers, they are the bread and butter of any 3-4 defense. Why? Because there are 4 of them, all right, and they offer a lot of variability when it comes to your play calling. All right. What you want out of your left outside linebackers depends on what type of scheme you want to run. You can still run a heavy coverage screen out of your out of 3-4. All right, you can run any scheme you want to. It just depends on your personnel. With the personnel you have with the Texans, higher awareness, higher acceleration, right? Let's look at his block shedding for a linebacker. Look, this is a crucial pass rushing task, right? Because right now he's looking like somebody's gonna rush that quarterback and start the run. Yep. So look at the finesse moves, all right? Block shedding's high, so he's a good run stopping, attacking type of 3-4 guy, all right? Middle linebacker, Brian Cushing. Decent speed. Almost. This guy's speed is actually better. Bedardrick McKinney. Alright. So, let's go to those also important. Alright, so his tackle's higher. He's a rookie, but his tackle's higher than Brian Cushing. Hit power is the same. Power move is better. Finesse moves is weaker. Alright. He's a middle linebacker in a 3-4 scheme, so I'm not surprised because there's 2 of them. So those 2 guys will be playing, right? Block shedding's higher. Pursuit's good. Play prediction is not bad for a rookie. All right. Look at that man in zone though. kind of suspect, right? But there's two of them, so you can kind of get away with still running zone because you have two guys with average zone coverage for 3-4 linebacker. And then you have your right outside linebacker. Those guys are the most vulnerable when it comes to running the zone with them because usually if you're running 3-4, they're gonna be at a disadvantage if someone comes out on three wide out set. They're just going to be if they don't have good zone, right? But at the same time, let's see, Jadeveon Clowney is great at getting at the quarterback. Block shed 95, finesse move 81, power move 87. All right, so he's awesome at getting at the quarterback. The best thing you can do with him if you're running a team that's similar to the Texans where you have a good pass rushing outside linebacker and a good pass rushing defensive end is that you want those guys on different sides of the ball. You want them on different sides of the field, I mean. So if you have, like in this situation, J.J. Watt at left end, you put Jadeveon Clowney on opposite of him, okay? Same thing when it comes to the guy that's going to be on Clowney's side. So I would switch them, but I would have Clowney line up on the left side outside of this guy. Why? Because he is going to most likely force a double team. And if he is, that opens up Jadeveon Clowney to come in free if they're not blocking anyone. So that opens up your outside guys to come in free if they don't block extra guys. Okay? All right? So that gives you opportunity to have free reign at the quarterback or at least have somebody with great pass rushing skills go up against a tight end, which is a favorable matchup for an individual with these stats like Jadeveon Clowney has when it comes to getting towards the quarterback. Okay. Once again, with the Texans, if you're gonna run a heavy zone, everybody needs to be able to do it well, and if everybody can't, you need to know where the holes are at. All right, Jonathan Joseph, great at man coverage. Kareem Jackson, not so much. AJ Bouye, pretty decent. Kevin Johnson, pretty decent, right? So to be honest, I will most likely probably go heavy zone unless I start getting beat underneath crazy with those guys. But to be honest, it's just you have to go with the flow of the game in your offense because some games, even if your team doesn't have great zone or great man, you might can get rated with it depending on the type of offense your team is running. So no, there's no absolutes when it comes to scheming, and you shouldn't be rigid and stick to, hey, this is my scheme, I only run zone. Adjust it accordingly as the game goes. All right. Yeah, we already went over what you should look for out of your safeties, depending on the type of scheme. It doesn't really change much when it comes to 3-4 on what you want out of your safeties. It's more so out of your linemen and linebackers. Those are your front seven are the big game changers when it comes to your scheme. All right. So now, like I was saying, you can see a little scheme change here. We're going to switch out. Davion. Opposite of him. And we'll put Whitney Merciless. There. And we'll see how that goes. And we'll run a base 4-3 odd. Let's see. Let's run solid. Alright. And then we'll start with just running a basic 4-man rush. See what kind of pressure we get against random plays. Sorry for the quick right, King. Favorable matchup. Mario took off. That's one thing that you got to keep contained on the scrambling quarterbacks. Bring him in a little bit. There you go. As soon as we pinch those linebackers in, they help stop any of that stuff in the inside. Help us out with that. So if you're noticing something, depending on your personnel, it's a little more difficult to play the zone, even though you have 4 linebackers in the 3-4, because you have less people, especially if you have less people going after the quarterback. You're going to be vulnerable over the middle. Alright. So this is a prime example where you have unique players that can cover the wideouts. You see, we're able to get a lot more success with covering the pass when we had Carolina, because they had very good cover corner. I mean, not cover corners, zone coverage linebackers, and they were getting at the linebacker, Clowney. See a lot of those favorite positions I'm getting with Clowney, right? A lot of favorable matchups against tight ends. Always try to front of the ball carrier back towards your help of your defense, alright? So if someone's running to the sideline, they can only go so far. Always try to push them back towards the center of the field if you can. See, Mario keeps taking off. So, bring him inside a little. Stuff him up. Bring him inside a little. Switch the lineman over a little. The idea is to try to put your men in positions where they can force a double team. Let's see if we were able to force a double team on that last play. So, look who got double team. We had 2 people double team right there. And we only sent 4 linemen. And they blocked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. So they had to keep 6 people back, right? 6 people had to stay back just to block 4 guys. Right, so what's the result? Quarterback has to drop it off. Why? Because we have 7 people in pass coverage. I like those odds. Let's keep trying here. Put the line in position to get a double team again. Look at that. Let's see where the double teams were that time. So JJ Watt gets double team. We just get a good block shed by in. Why? Because he has high block shed and power moves. Force the double team so you can get one-on-ones. That's all you need to do. Force the double team to get one-on-ones. We only sent 3 people that time. 3 people went. And of course, you have to adjust when you're playing a user player, because a user is much more adaptable. One thing about playing this type of zone is that you need pressure on the quarterback. It works when you're playing zone heavy, but you have to get pressure from your front 7. Not even force the double team. Forcing double teams. That's what you want. Clowney still got off it, so just something to keep in mind. Uh, I can't really think of any other excuse me, sorry, specifics when it comes to basic defensive scheme. Yes, you can get a lot more into it when it comes to how routing, but it's just gonna make the video much longer. And I want to try to keep this as basic as possible and streamlined as I can. I feel that we already covered quite a bit of information, so yeah, don't feel free to hit me up, guys, in the forums or on Xbox if you have any questions, or if you have different ways you run things. You know, I'm by all means no Madden guru or know it all. I like hearing how others do things and how others run schemes out of different formations. Um, yeah, I think the more collaboration amongst you find group of gentlemen, the better. So definitely, yeah. And that's all I got for you guys. After this, the user tutorial will be coming up. So I'm gonna end this stream because this video is getting pretty long. Start a new video for usering, and then we'll get into an actual live game and test it out. Okay. All right, guys. Auf Wiedersehen und bis bald.